and welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Scint.
I'm Axion.
And we are back to the world of Final Fantasy V, where we are also returning to the world of Harry Potter to start on the second book in the series, Chamber of Secrets. So, as is basically becoming our tradition at this point, we have already discussed the pop cultural impact of Harry Potter as a franchise, which leaves us to move on to just summing up the plot.
Yep. There we go.
So, obviously, it picks up fairly shortly after the last left off. Every book just basically starts at the end of summer vacation and goes through the school year. So we are in Harry's summer vacation with the Dursleys, which has been about as enjoyable as you would probably expect living with the Dursleys. So, the Dursleys, in Dursley fashion, are still trying to pretend everything is fine, everything is normal, and locking all of Harry's magical things away. Which is leading to Hedwig getting antsy, which is leading to lots of noise being made, which they don't like because they've basically kept an owl locked up in a cage, can't stretch her wings, can't do anything all summer. So, you know, not a great way to treat a pet. But this all comes to a head with the fact that Vernon Dursley is trying to have a dinner party to get a very important to him business deal across. And his solution for that night is to keep Harry in his room pretending he's not there while Petunia and Dudley help him do their damnedest to suck up to this potential investor. Which, obviously, all well and good, except for the fact that when Harry goes to his room to just wait for the night to be over, he finds a house elf sitting on his bed who introduces himself as Dobby.
Right, that was that.
Dobby begs Harry not to go back to Hogwarts because bad things will happen, to the point where he is so insistent on this that Dobby himself performs some magic to get Harry in trouble with the Dursleys, which also somehow triggers a notice from the Ministry of Magic for the misuse of underage magic, because student wizards are not supposed to use magic outside of Hogwarts, which Harry immediately neglected to tell the Dursleys, which turns out to be for the best because they take this as an opportunity to put bars in his window and lock him in.
Yep. For all that the Dursleys want nothing to do with the magical world, they also don't want to just let Harry go be part of it. Even if it means getting him out of their hair and their space for a year, they want to lock him up where they can keep him as their servant.
I don't even think it's that, because they didn't even want him out of the room. It's just, they don't want to be associated with magic in any way, shape, or form, and letting Harry go off and learn to be a wizard is tangentially associating them with magic in some way, shape, or form. So I don't think it's that they want him as a servant so much, because they would have obviously let him out at some point. But this obviously doesn't hold Harry, because he has something called Friends Named Weasley. Specifically, he has Ron coming in with Fred and George in a car that Mr. Weasley has enchanted, which we later learn that Mrs. Weasley doesn't know it's enchanted, and oh boy does he get in trouble. And no, we don't need any magic to break the locks or anything, because Fred and George thought it was fun to learn to pick locks the Muggle way, which means they can get Harry's things, get Harry out, and set off in the night flying away in a Ford. Which is not the most glamorous way to travel, but hey, it beats Dawkins. They arrive back at the Weasley house, where Mrs. Weasley has discovered them gone, and it goes about as well for her sons as you can expect, and she's just happy to see Harry, and glad he's okay. And then Mr. Weasley gets a riot act later, which is probably about as best he could hope.
We also learn that Dobby has been stealing the mail that both the mail that Harry received from his friends and that he sent to Ron and Hermione to try and convince Harry that he is unwanted at Hogwarts and that his friends don't care about him and thus he should not feel any desire to go back.
Which, there's a lot to read into with that, which we are going to have to get into in a later episode. But that's for another time. We're just looking at the plot right now.
Yep.
Harry enjoys his time at the Weasleys. They go to Diagon Alley through Floo Powder, except for Harry, who's never used it before, screws it up and ends up in Nocturne Alley, which is not a place good wizards are supposed to be, and he is luckily rescued by Hagrid, who's there buying, like, slug repellent for the Hogwarts Gardens.
Yep, but not not before he overhears Lucius and Draco Malfoy having a very suspicious conversation with one of the merchants.
Yep, which does a lot to set Harry's expectations up for things that will become apparent later. But Harry is safely returned to the Weasleys, where he shortly after runs into the author of most of their course list this year, Gilderoy Lockhart, wizard celebrity, who instantly decides that he wants to take photos with Harry because, hey, celebrity is celebrity. Clearly you must be just like me, because I am also famous. Wink, wink. Sparkle, sparkle. Harry wants none of this. A fight breaks out after the Malfoys make a comment about the Weasleys being too poor to afford the books, and shoves one of the secondhand books back into Ginny's hand, Ron's sister, who we are just now meeting, and then everything else goes normally for the rest of the summer, basically. Until, upon arrival at Platform 9 3/4, Harry and Ron cannot get through the barrier. Being 12 years old and panicking, they decide that the best course of action is to take the flying car, rather than send an owl or try to find someone for help. Because, 12 years old, decision-making, things. The car does not have the foolproof invisibility that they thought it had, crashes into the Whomping Willow upon arrival at Hogwarts when the engine stalls out, and they are summarily escorted to Dumbledore's office by a very, very happy Snape, who then has his happiness taken away when Dumbledore decides not to expel the pair of them, just gives them a detention instead. But Ron's wand is broken, and you can probably guess how well this is going to work out for the rest of the year. So, from here, we get back into the school year proper. Quidditch practice starts back up, where it is discovered that Malfoy is the new Slytherin Seeker, which prompts an argument about whether or not they have the right to be on the field at the same time as the Gryffindors, who had reserved the field, but Snape gave them permission anyway, so, favoritism at play as always. But there's also a comment about Malfoy having to buy his way onto the team, so we set up the class distinction stuff that's going to keep coming up throughout the series, which later prompts him to introduce us to the favored slur of the wizarding world, Mudblood. Filthy blood, referring to Muggleborns, because, we just can't have a series that doesn't discuss racism. Because people suck.
Speaking of people sucking, this poor kid's about to have a bad day.
That one?
Well, the kid that we were, the kid that we saw up ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, we are introduced to a new class this year. Herbology was mentioned before, but we actually see them having Herbology this year, with Professor Sprout, who is head of Hufflepuff House. You have frogs. And their first task is to repot mandrakes. This is called foreshadowing.
Oh, this guy is a lot tougher than I was not expecting to be just trampled like that.
Yep. The other class to focus in on this year is Defense Against the Dark Arts, which we are getting into the pattern of seeing that no one lasts very long in this position. Lockhart gets the job, according to Hagrid, because nobody else applied for it, because people are starting to think it's cursed. So, Lockhart is their teacher, and mostly spends the class talking about how awesome Lockhart is. If you've ever had a teacher like that, Cringe with me now. Solidarity, my friends. I am having flashbacks to the teacher I had with a Lockhart mindset. But yeah, Lockhart quickly establishes himself as not being up to snuff with things when he attempts to take care of the pixies he released to prove a point, and it fails, and he basically just shanghais Harry, Ron, and Hermione, who were the slowest to get out of the classroom, to clean it up for him. Because, you know, nothing quite like endangering your students, but I guess that's what gets you tenure at Hogwarts. Also around this time... Yep. Also around this time, Harry and Ron are invited to a Death Day party for Nearly Headless Nick, the Gryffindor ghost. So, as they make their way, they make their way down into the dungeons. I believe Hermione's there as well. I read this a couple weeks ago and it's already starting to run together. While they are there, Harry hears a voice. The others think he's imagining it, and when he goes to investigate it, he finds Mrs. Norris petrified, with writing on the wall, warning the school that the Chamber of Secrets is opened. Enemies of the heir of Slytherin beware, which has the whole school starting to panic about what that means and who that is. So, Slytherin obviously is one of the 4 founders, and as most of the histories that the students find shows that Slytherin's the one who only wants the pure bloods. Slytherin is the problematic founder. So obviously his heir is going to have similarly problematic points of view to be dealt with. But this does mean that a large percentage of this school is in danger. Harry's immediate thought, because he has met Malfoy, is that Malfoy is the heir. Which means the group is going to spend some time trying to figure out a way to investigate this. Because obviously, you can't just point fingers and say, I think you're the one attacking people. That kid's art looks so smug.
I think that's intentional.
Okay. So, Harry is attacked during a Quidditch game when one of the bludgers goes awry, which ends with him hospitalized after Lockhart decides he wants to help him. His definition of helping is, I'm going to fix your broken arm by removing the bones rather than taking you to the hospital wing and healing it. So, Harry has to spend the night in the hospital. While he's there, another student is brought in. One of the new Gryffindors, Muggle-born Colin Creevey, who had been following Harry around as soon as he found out who he was, because this wizarding stuff is really cool, and I'm new to it, and I've heard your name, so I'm going to latch on to you because you're a celebrity to me. And Harry's just like, I want to go to class, please stop. Which doesn't set Harry up in a very good position, because he has been established as being irritated by one of the victims now. This gets worse after a dueling club is started up, where Lockhart and Snape decide to teach some of the students some defensive magic. I think attempt is the proper word here, though we do get the first appearance of Expelliarmus, a spell that becomes a mainstay of the entire franchise and one of Harry's go-tos. But during this, Draco goes off of what he's supposed to be casting and summons a snake, which Harry talks to in front of everybody because he doesn't know that no one else can talk to them.
Yep, he did it back in the first book and nobody had a big deal about it then, but also nobody, saw him do it.
Yep, and he never told anybody that that's what happened. Like, the only people who were aware of it were the Dursleys, in the sense of Dudley's friends seeing, hey, Harry, weren't you talking to that snake before the glass disappeared? Which, obviously people, they make noises to animals at the zoos all the time. I cannot walk past, like, the tiger den without saying, oh, aren't you pretty? But, that's just because I don't like tigers. But I wouldn't have seen it as that suspicious. But that being one of Slytherin's defining signs of magic really paints suspicion on Harry. So much of the school thinks that Harry might be the heir of Slytherin, which has Harry concerned because he has not told anyone else this, but as you recall, the Sorting Hat came very close to putting him in. So this is now becoming as much a quest to clear Harry's own name as it is to find out who really did it. So they discover the recipe for Polyjuice Potion after getting Lockhart to sign off on the rental of the book because it's in the restricted section, and they decide that he would be the easiest to get to sign it because, as Ron puts it, he'll sign anything that stands still long enough. Come on, let's go.
I mean, not wrong.
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to disagree with it. This allows them to take the form of Crabbe and Goyle and another Slytherin Millicent for an hour, except Hermione got the wrong kind of hair and turns into a partial cat and can't go through with the plan. So Harry and Ron infiltrate, learn that it's not Malfoy, because, as he puts it, he wishes he knew who it was so he could help target the Muggleborns, which, you know, not much better, but not guilty of this particular crime. So that leaves them kind of at a loss. But Harry then gets his hands later on a strange diary, which he discovers as being magical when, after an incident on Valentine's Day, breaks some ink in his bag. It is the only thing in his bag that is not covered in ink. So he tests out some writing in it, and it writes back to him. Says it is from Tom Riddle, and was written 50 years ago by a student at Hogwarts, which is also the last time the heir of Slytherin had been active. Harry then deduces that I can learn things from this about what happened 50 years ago, and is sucked into a vision of Tom Riddle, a prefect, catching someone with a monster. That someone is Hagrid, who we know was expelled some time ago. So, they go down to ask Hagrid about this, and discover that, well, someone else is already there, because since he was expelled 50 years ago for being suspected of being the heir of Slytherin, and attacks are happening again, yeah, optics. So, Minister of Magic Cornelius Fudge has come in to take Hagrid into custody. Harry and Ron follow some of his instructions to find out that the monster that he had several years ago was a giant spider. Ron does not take this well. Meanwhile, the attacks have been continuing. Several other Muggleborns, including Hermione, have been petrified. The monsters in this do look strange. That just looks like a screaming vulture.
It basically is.
But they've also discovered throughout all this that the last time the chamber was opened, someone died. And they are eventually able to piece together that this student who died was Moaning Myrtle, who they met at the Death Day party, and they know is haunting the one of the bathrooms downstairs. So, this means they go talk to Myrtle. Because there is talk of closing the school after Ginny Weasley vanishes and is suspected to have been taken into the Chamber of Secrets, which no one knows how to get into. So, Dumbledore has also left the school at the behest of the Board of Governors, who have been convinced, bribed, and threatened by Lucius Malfoy. So, they're afraid that if they don't make a move now, it's going to be too late. But because Harry and Ron overheard some of the teachers urging Lockhart to go take care of it, because, well, your books say you've done this sort of thing, right? Right? Because all of the teachers know that Lockhart is full of it, and they're only saying this to get him out of the way while they figure out what they could actually do about things. Harry and Ron go to tell him what they have discovered to help him out, and then find him packing. Gang press him essentially into coming with them because, dude, you're the adult in the room, do something responsible. Harry figures out how to open the Chamber of Secrets by speaking Parseltongue to a carving of a snake on the sink tap, which opens up the passage through the pipes into the chamber below. They take Lockhart with them. Lockhart plans to just cut and run and wipe their memories because, as he reveals to the pair, he never did any of the things in those books. He tracked down the people who did, interviewed them, wiped their memories, and took credit for it. So that's what he's going to do here. Sorry, I was too late. They lost their memories from shock. It's so tragic. Bye. But he takes Ron's wand to do this, which has been malfunctioning all year, and it backfires and wipes his own memory instead, leaving a landslide blocking Harry from the other two. Ron tries to shift some of the rocks so Harry can get back out, leaving Harry to go alone into the Chamber of Secrets to find Ginny. Recurring trend of Harry not being able to bring allies to the final fight.
Yep. So Harry does find Ginny in the Chamber of Secrets, but she is unconscious, and she is not alone. There is a young student with her who quickly identifies himself as none other than Tom Riddle, the responding...
Nemesis of Batman.
The responding figure from within the journal. Riddle then reveals that he has actually been siphoning energy from Ginny as she pours her soul into the diary, and that he now has stolen enough of that energy that he can manifest a projection of himself, for lack of a better way to put it, into the real world. He also revealed... Go ahead.
Because Ginny didn't know what was going on with this. She just had, hey, a used diary. I'm going to keep a diary, and it talks back to me. So Ginny just thought it was just a normal diary, so she just treated it as such, and had no idea what was happening. And the more she wrote in it, the more of a connection she made with Riddle, which allowed Riddle to basically puppeteer her. So Ginny was the one opening the chamber, using Riddle's power. Ginny was the one being used to attack the students.
And Riddle reveals that he is none other than Voldemort in his young school-age days, who was the original person who opened the Chamber of Secrets, who was the person who framed Hagrid and got him expelled.
On the basis of, who are you going to believe? Me, top student, prefect, model student for everyone, or this bumbling idiot who's been in trouble about 17 times for sneaking animals into the castle? Yeah, this is an easy frame.
Yep. And while he was able to fool the then headmaster and other teachers, he didn't quite 100% fool Dumbledore, who made arrangements for Hagrid to be trained as a gamekeeper after his expulsion so that he didn't have to leave Hogwarts, and was always keeping a little bit too close of an eye on Riddle from that time forward.
Yep. So, yeah. This leaves Harry to face Voldemort again. This is the third time he has done so in his life, which is fun. And Voldemort's basilisk, or rather Slytherin's basilisk, that has been living in the school this entire time.
And by basilisk, we mean a gigantic snake that, if you happen to look it straight in the eyes, will instantly kill you. The reason that everyone has been petrified rather than outright killed is because no one, this time around, has managed to look directly at the basilisk. Miss Norris saw its reflection in some spilled water. Colin Creeley saw it through his camera, and the magic of the basilisk also utterly destroyed the camera and all of its film.
And one of the other students, Justin, a Hufflepuff, saw it through Nearly Headless Nick, and then Hermione and a Ravenclaw prefect saw it around the corner through a mirror because Hermione had just figured out what the monster was and how it was moving through the school, and had written it down on a piece of paper, but got petrified before she could spread the word of look around corners with a mirror, it could save your life. Which does raise a question. Myrtle is described as having glasses, meaning she would have had a lens between her eyes and the basilisk, so it does kind of make you wonder how she was killed and not petrified when she saw the basilisk when she was in the bathroom and it came out.
I think I actually know the answer to that, because glasses lenses aren't enough of a diffusion. Like, looking at a mirror or a reflection in water or something is an indirect look. You're not you're not looking at it directly, you're seeing its reflection. While that's enough to pass on some of its magic, it's not enough to straight up kill you. Looking through a complex machine like a camera with all of its many layers of lenses and film and moving parts, or looking through the incorporeal, disparate material, whatever, ectoplasm or whatever it is that a ghost is made of, is enough to likewise diffuse some of the magic to keep it to just petrifying you rather than killing you. But glasses aren't enough of a barrier between you and the magic of the basilisk.
That could be. Like, the other thing I thought of would be maybe she had taken off the glasses to wipe her eyes because she had been crying because she'd been in there because she was being made fun of and bullied. So that could have also been a thing. So she has the glasses because they were with her, but she wasn't wearing them at that moment. I don't know. It's not explicitly spelled out. It's always been something that's bothered me because it didn't make much sense, but I guess either explanation works.
Yep.
Or, I don't know, maybe Rowling forgot that she said the girl had glasses. I don't know.
Anyway.
But yeah, Harry fights the basilisk with the help of Fawkes because
Harry does very little fighting.
Oh, he's the one who wields the sword after Fawkes brings the sorting hat, and he manages to pull the sword of Godric Gryffindor out of the hat, uses that to stab the basilisk through the roof of its mouth, which does result in Harry being bitten with that basilisk venom, and starts dying. Except, Phoenixes are OP, which makes me wonder, how come this game uses Phoenix Down and not Phoenix Tears? Phoenix Tears seem like they would be much more appropriate for what we're talking about.
I've never seen a game that used Phoenix Tears, so I can't comment.
I'm just saying, Harry is saved from certain death by having Fawkes cry on his wound, which instantly heals him of the poison.
Oh yeah,
you'd think that, so you'd think that would be the bring your knocked out party member back rather than a feather.
Oh, why did I do that?
But yeah, Harry then takes the venomous fang and stabs the diary, which wipes out Riddle's essence from the book. This allows Ginny to wake back up, and she confesses everything to Harry and is understandably freaked out. Harry leads her back to where Ron is waiting. Fawkes carries all four of them back out because they had Lockhart with them too, and they are able to explain everything to Dumbledore, who has mysteriously returned just in time, explaining that, yeah, the other governors were basically blackmailed into removing me and decided to call me back. So I don't know what you were talking about, Mr. Malfoy.
Yep. Then Harry, having pieced together that Lucius Malfoy was the one who gave Ginny the diary in the first place, asks Dumbledore for permission to return it to him, which Dumbledore gives.
Because Dumbledore gonna dumble.
Yep.
But he puts his sock on top of it. Malfoy looks at it and goes, "What is wrong with you?" Offhandedly throws the sock over his shoulder, where his servant, Dobby, catches it. And that, in House Elf magic, frees them, because when they are given actual clothing to wear, their masters have set them free. So, Malfoy does not have a servant any longer. Dobby protects Harry from his retaliation, and basically chases Malfoy off.
And that wraps up the plot. Harry...
Well, not quite. Harry, exams are cancelled, which Hermione's the only one who cares about. Harry returns to the Dursleys, but also gives Ron and Hermione the Dursleys' phone number, which, given that Ron has never used a phone before in his life, this is going to be good. But, yeah, school year wraps up, they need new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, again, and, third book is on the way. So, that, as we said, is the plot of the Chamber of Secrets. We will get into some of the thematic elements of it next time.
Yep. See you all then.
Bye.